Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I promised that in this lesson we are going to construct the high score system, but I have to break my promise because first I want to handle the current score. Once we finish the game and load the game over scene, we want to copy the score from the play scene to this score here, so that it displays how many stars we collected during the last game. Don't worry, we are going to use the player preferences for this as well, so we can get some practical knowledge on how to use them. First, open up the play scene by double-clicking it. The current score is located in the half-screen game object. The event when we want to copy that score to the game over scene is when the player crashes into the wrong color. That code is handled by a script called player collisions. Double-click that script to open it up in Visual Studio. Once it's loaded, we can see that this is the part of the code that handles collisions with the obstacles. And if the player collides with the wrong obstacle, this is the code that executes. So before we load the game over screen, we want to do something else. We want to save the current score in the player preferences. To do that, type player prefs, and the function that we are going to use from player preferences is called setString. The first parameter will be our key or how that variable is going to be called. We can call it whatever we want, and don't forget to put it inside of quotation marks since that's a string. Let's call it current score. And the second parameter will be scoreText.text. Since this is also a string, we don't need to do any conversions. Don't forget the semicolons at the end. By using this function, we are going to save the current score permanently. But we don't really want it to be permanent since that score will be changing all the time. That means that when we load the play scene, we want it to be set back to 0. And we can do that by using a start method of any script from this scene. Since it's most convenient, we can just use this start method right here. It's going to be the same function again, so player preferences dot set string. The key of the value that we want to change is called current score. Again, make sure don't make any spelling mistakes. And the second parameter will be 0. However, we need to put it inside of quotation marks because that's a string. And don't forget the semicolon. So this and this should be enough to handle the current score. We are basically telling Unity that at the beginning we want the current score to be set to 0, and once the game is finished and the player crashes into the wrong obstacle, we want to save it to however many stars he collected. That way we are also going to be able to access the current score in the game over scene. So go ahead and save this and go back to Unity. Now open the game over scene. And in order to change anything here, we will want to create another script. So right click on our script folder, create C# script. And we can call it score handler. Double click it to open it up in Visual Studio. We'll be using only the start method, so we can delete the update method. First we'll need 4 new variables in order to target the scores. The first two will be public, and they are going to be of type GameObject. First one will be called current score, and the second one will be the high score. Then we'll need text mesh variables, which are going to be both private. The first is going to be called current score text, and the second one will be high score text. Once that is done, we need to target these private variables to their corresponding text values. I'll just write a quick comment indicating what this part of the code will be doing. So current score text will be equal to current score dot get component, and the component that we want to get is the text mesh component. Don't forget to open and close the brackets. And the high score text will be equal to high score dot get component text mesh, and again don't forget the brackets. Once that is done, we'll be changing the text of this first game object. You should already know how we change the text of a 3D text object, since we have done it many times before. So current score text dot text will become, and now we want to get the value saved in our player preferences. So type in player prefs dot get string, and the string that we want to get is called current score. This short piece of code should be enough to handle everything about the current score. The player preferences might seem complicated at first, but once you get some practical experience, you can see how easily they are used. Make sure to save this. Go back to Unity, and now we need to attach the score handler script to a game object from this scene. It doesn't matter which game object it is, so let's just choose the main camera. Take the score handler script and attach it to the main camera. Now that that is done, we need to also attach the game object for the variables. Now everything should be ready. Let's click on play and find out if it works. We can see that our score has changed to correspond to the current score that we had in the game. Let's see if it will work if we try again. In the next lesson, I will finally teach you how to make the high score. It's going to be very simple since we learned how to use the player preferences. So stay tuned.